Welcome back to another epic journey, my fellow seekers of legendary tales. If this story takes you to new realms of wonder, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible adventures that span across universes and time itself. Tonight we embark on the most complete chronicle ever told, a tale that begins with a single wish and grows to encompass the fate of 12 entire universes. This is the story of how one pure-hearted boy from the mountains would rise to challenge gods themselves, how friendship would prove stronger than any transformation, and how the simple desire to protect those we love would reshape the very foundations of reality. Picture this: a mysterious capsule crashes through Earth's atmosphere, carrying within it a child whose very existence will alter the course of history. But this infant possesses a power so immense, so terrifying, that even the gods of destruction take notice. His tale marks him as something beyond human understanding, yet his heart beats with a purity that will challenge the darkest forces in existence. In the deepest corners of space, an emperor of unimaginable cruelty sits upon his throne, having destroyed countless worlds with nothing more than the movement of a single finger. His cold eyes scan the galaxy, searching for the last survivors of a warrior race he believed he had completely annihilated. Little does he know that one of those survivors grows stronger each day on a small blue planet, completely unaware of his true heritage or the destiny that awaits him. Meanwhile, in dimensions beyond mortal comprehension, beings of divine power observe the unfolding events with growing interest. Some see potential in this young warrior, others see a threat that must be eliminated before it grows too powerful to control. Ancient prophecies speak of a legendary transformation, a golden warrior who appears once every 1,000 years to challenge the established order of the universe. But here's the mystery that will haunt us throughout this incredible journey. Why do the gods themselves fear what this child might become? What terrible secret lies hidden in the destruction of his home planet? And most intriguing of all, why does this boy's pure heart hold the key to a power that even angels acknowledge as divine? As we delve deeper into this epic saga, you'll discover that every battle fought, every friend made, every enemy defeated, serves a greater cosmic purpose. The 7 mystical Dragon Balls scattered across Earth are not merely wish-granting orbs. They are connected to an ancient magic that spans multiple universes, created by beings whose true intentions remain shrouded in mystery. You'll witness transformations that defy all logic, battles that shake the very foundations of reality, and friendships forged in the fires of impossible odds. But most importantly, you'll understand how a simple farm boy's journey to become stronger leads him to face threats that could erase entire universes from existence. The tournament grounds fall silent as multiverse-destroying energy crackles in the air. 12 universes hang in the balance, their very existence dependent on the outcome of a battle between mortals who have transcended their limitations. In the center of it all stands our hero, his hair silver like starlight, his eyes holding the wisdom of angels, moving with an instinct so perfect it appears he can see the future itself. But how did we arrive at this moment of universal crisis? How did a boy who once struggled to catch fish in a mountain stream become the defender of all reality? The answer lies in a story of growth that spans decades, of choices made in the face of overwhelming power, and of the unbreakable bonds formed when warriors fight side by side against impossible odds. This is not just a story of increasing power levels or spectacular transformations, though you'll witness both in abundance. This is the chronicle of how the universe itself evolves through the actions of those brave enough to face their fears, strong enough to protect the innocent, and wise enough to know that true strength comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the will to preserve what matters most. From the peaceful mountains of Earth to the cosmic tournament arena, where universes battle for survival, from the first wish made upon ancient Dragon Balls to the moment when divine power awakens within mortal hearts, this is the complete tale that has captivated millions across the globe. So settle in, close your eyes and prepare to experience a journey that begins with simple martial arts training and culminates in battles that determine the fate of all existence. Let the gentle rhythm of this epic tale carry you through adventures beyond imagination, where every chapter reveals new wonders and every revelation brings us closer to understanding the true meaning of strength. The story begins now, in a time when Earth knew nothing of Saiyans or gods. when the greatest wish anyone could imagine was for the perfect companion or unlimited wealth, completely unaware that far greater desires and far more terrible threats were already approaching through the vast darkness of space. Deep in the serene mountains of Earth, where morning mist dances between ancient bamboo groves and crystal-clear streams flow over smooth riverstones, there exists a place untouched by the chaos of modern civilization. Mount Paozu stretches toward the heavens like a natural temple, its peaks crowned with clouds that seem to glow with their own inner light during the golden hours of dawn and dusk. Here, in a simple house built from wood and stone, surrounded by gardens where vegetables grow in neat rows and fruit trees, bend heavy with their seasonal offerings, lived a martial artist whose legend would echo through the ages. But this is not his story alone, for Master Gohan was merely the guardian of something far more precious than any earthly treasure. The child who came to be known as Goku arrived on Earth under circumstances that defied all explanation. The meteor shower that lit the sky that fateful night was unlike anything the old hermit had ever witnessed. Streaks of light that seemed too controlled, too purposeful to be natural phenomena. When Gohan climbed the treacherous mountain paths to investigate the impact crater, he discovered not space rock or cosmic debris, but a perfect spherical pod made of materials unknown to Earth science. Inside this otherworldly vessel, cushioned by technology that seemed to pulse with its own life force, lay an infant whose very presence radiated an energy that made the air itself seem to hum with potential. The child's black hair already showed signs of the wild, gravity-defying style that would become his trademark, and wrapped around his tiny waist was something that filled the old martial artist with both wonder and concern, a brown furry tail that moved with unmistakably animal-like awareness. But it was the child's eyes that truly captured Gohan's heart. Deep black orbs that sparkled with innocent curiosity, and an inner joy that seemed to illuminate everything around him. Even as a baby, Goku possessed an infectious enthusiasm for life that transformed the quiet mountain hermitage into a place of laughter and endless discovery. The house itself seemed to grow more vibrant with the child's presence. What had once been a simple dwelling became a dojo where the greatest martial arts lessons in human history would unfold. The wooden floors, polished smooth by decades of disciplined practice, would soon echo with the footsteps of a student whose potential exceeded anything Gohan had ever imagined possible. Surrounding their mountain home, nature provided the perfect training ground for developing both body and spirit. Ancient trees with trunks so wide that 20 people holding hands could not encircle them, served as perfect targets for practicing precision strikes. Waterfalls cascaded from impossible heights, their thunderous roar providing both the soundtrack for meditation and the resistance necessary for building incredible physical strength. The wildlife of Mount Paozu was unlike that found anywhere else on Earth. Fish swimming in the mountain streams possessed such speed and agility that catching them required reflexes far beyond normal human capability. The dinosaurs that roamed the deeper valleys and hidden plateaus were remnants of prehistoric times, massive creatures whose very existence challenged conventional understanding of natural history. It was in this environment of natural wonder and martial discipline that Goku's extraordinary abilities first began to manifest. His strength seemed to increase not gradually, as would be expected from normal training, but in sudden leaps that defied all logical explanation, tasks that should have been impossible for a child. His age became simple daily activities. Lifting boulders that weighed several tons was no more difficult than picking up ordinary rocks. Moving with speed that made him appear as nothing more than a blur became as natural as walking. But perhaps most remarkable of all was Goku's appetite, a hunger that seemed to have no earthly limits. Meals that could feed an entire family would disappear in minutes, and still the boy would ask for more with the same innocent smile that had first won his adoptive grandfather's heart. This incredible consumption of food seemed directly linked to his rapid physical development and his seemingly inexhaustible energy reserves. Gohan, drawing upon decades of martial arts mastery and spiritual discipline, recognized that he was not simply raising an unusually gifted child, but rather serving as guardian to someone whose destiny would extend far beyond the peaceful boundaries of their mountain sanctuary. The training regimen he developed combined traditional techniques passed down through generations of masters with innovations specifically designed to challenge abilities that transcended normal human limitations. Each morning began before sunrise with meditation sessions that helped Goku develop not just physical control, but mental clarity and spiritual awareness. The breathing techniques Gohan taught were ancient practices designed to unlock and focus the life energy that flowed through all living things, though neither teacher nor student yet understood that what they were actually learning to manipulate was something called Ki, a force that connected all living beings throughout the universe. The physical training that followed these meditation sessions was equally extraordinary. Tree climbing exercises evolved into scaling cliff faces that rose hundreds of feet into the clouds. Simple running became endurance challenges across terrain that would challenge the most experienced mountain climbers. Strength training involved moving boulders and fallen trees that grew progressively larger as Goku's abilities continued to develop. But Master Gohan understood that true martial arts mastery required more than just physical prowess. The moral and ethical foundations he instilled in his young student would prove to be even more important than any fighting technique. Lessons about protecting the innocent, showing mercy to defeated opponents, and finding peaceful solutions whenever possible became the bedrock upon which Goku's character was built. The relationship between the elderly hermit and his extraordinary ward was one of genuine love and mutual respect. Gohan had spent most of his adult life in solitude, dedicating himself to martial arts mastery and spiritual development. Goku brought joy and purpose to these mountain heights in ways the old master had never imagined possible. Their daily routines followed patterns that connected them to the natural rhythms of their mountain environment. Dawn brought meditation and physical training. The middle hours of each day were devoted to practical lessons about survival skills, cooking, basic academic subjects, and the philosophical principles that guided true martial artists. Evenings were reserved for storytelling, during which Gohan would share legends of great warriors and the principles they lived by. As seasons changed around their peaceful home, Goku continued to grow not just in size and strength, but in wisdom and understanding. He learned to read the subtle signs that warned of weather changes, to identify which plants could be used for healing and which were dangerous, and to move through the forest with such grace that even the most timid animals would approach without fear. The mysterious tale remained a constant reminder that Goku was somehow different from ordinary humans, though its true significance remained hidden. During certain phases of the moon, the young boy would become unusually restless, his energy levels seeming to spike beyond even his normal extraordinary standards. Gohan noted these patterns, but could not yet understand their meaning. Their simple mountain life was filled with small adventures and quiet discoveries. Each day brought new opportunities for learning and growth. Neither the elderly master nor his remarkable student could have imagined that their peaceful existence was merely the calm before a storm that would eventually engulf not just their world but the entire universe. The foundation being laid during these formative years would prove crucial when the time came to face threats beyond anything Earth had ever known. The pure heart that Gohan carefully nurtured through patient teaching and unconditional love would become humanity's greatest hope against forces that sought to destroy everything good and innocent in existence. In this sanctuary high above the concerns of the ordinary world, where morning mist carries the fragrance of mountain flowers, and evening brings the gentle sounds of nocturnal creatures beginning their nightly activities, the most important education in the history of any universe was quietly taking place, preparing a young warrior for battles that would determine the fate of all reality. The tranquil years of mountain training came to an abrupt end on a day that began like any other, with morning mist clinging to the valleys and the familiar sound of Goku's practice strikes echoing through the forest. What Master Gohan could never have anticipated was that a single visitor would transform their peaceful existence into the first chapter of an adventure spanning decades. Bulma Brief arrived at Mount Paozu, not as a seeker of martial wisdom or spiritual enlightenment, but as a brilliant teenage inventor driven by scientific curiosity and equipped with technology that seemed like magic to the isolated mountain dwellers. Her capsule vehicle, a marvel of engineering that could shrink from full size to a portable container, represented humanity's advancing technological capabilities. Yet even this impressive innovation paled in comparison to the device she carried with utmost care. The Dragon Radar, her own creation born from years of research into electromagnetic signatures and energy patterns, had led her to this remote location following signals unlike anything in her extensive database. The readings indicated the presence of an object radiating energy frequencies that defied conventional scientific explanation, something that called to her inventor's soul with the promise of discovery beyond imagination. What she found instead was a young man whose innocent enthusiasm and incredible naivety about the modern world initially frustrated her practical nature. Goku's amazement at her simple conveniences, his genuine confusion about basic technology, and his complete lack of awareness regarding anything beyond his mountain home, seemed almost primitive to someone accustomed to city life's complexities. But when Goku casually mentioned his most treasured possession, a glowing orange sphere that his beloved grandfather had left him, Bulma's scientific mind immediately recognized the implications. This was no ordinary keepsake, but rather one of 7 legendary Dragon Balls, artifacts whose very existence had been relegated to folklore and children's stories by most of the world's population. The moment she held the 4-star Dragon Ball in her hands, feeling its warmth and sensing the mystical energy that pulsed within its crystalline structure, Bulma knew she stood at the threshold of a discovery that would revolutionize human understanding of the supernatural. The sphere's perfect craftsmanship, its internal glow that seemed to come from some impossible source, and the way it seemed to resonate with her detection equipment, confirmed that ancient legends sometimes contained more truth than modern science was willing to acknowledge. Goku's initial reluctance to part with his grandfather's memento revealed the depth of love and respect he held for Master Gohan's memory. The 4-star ball represented more than just a family heirloom. It was a tangible connection to the man who had shaped his character and worldview during those crucial formative years. The thought of losing this precious link to his past filled him with genuine anguish. Bulma's explanation of the Dragon Ball legend, however, opened up possibilities that even Goku's pure heart could not ignore. The ancient tales spoke of 7 magical spheres, when gathered together, would summon an eternal dragon capable of granting any single wish to whoever possessed the courage to seek them out. For most people, such stories would be dismissed as fantasy, but Goku had grown up in an environment where the impossible happened daily. The promise of adventure itself proved as compelling as any potential wish. Years of mountain training had developed Goku's physical abilities to extraordinary levels, but they had also cultivated a restless spirit that yearned for new challenges and experiences. The opportunity to explore the wider world, to test his skills against unknown opponents, and to embark on a quest worthy of the legendary heroes from Gohan's bedtime stories ignited something deep within his warrior's soul. Their partnership began with mutual misunderstanding but gradually evolved into genuine friendship as they discovered how their different strengths complemented each other perfectly. Bulma's technological expertise and scientific knowledge provided solutions to practical problems that Goku's straightforward approach could not address, while his incredible physical abilities and pure-hearted courage opened paths through obstacles that no amount of technology could overcome. The early stages of their quest introduced them to a world far more complex and dangerous than either had imagined possible. Their first encounters with the Red Ribbon Army revealed that the Dragon Balls had attracted the attention of forces with far darker intentions than simple wish fulfillment. Commander Red's obsession with using the dragon's power for personal gain represented humanity's capacity for corruption when faced with unlimited power. These initial conflicts served as Goku's introduction to the reality that not everyone shared his grandfather's moral principles. The soldiers who attacked them without provocation, who threatened innocent people, and who viewed power as something to be taken rather than earned, challenged his understanding of human nature in ways that mountain training never could have prepared him for. Yet each confrontation only strengthened his resolve to complete their quest. The sight of helpless villagers terrorized by military forces, of families torn apart by greed and ambition, and of natural beauty destroyed in the pursuit of selfish goals, awakened something fierce and protective within him. The lessons about defending the innocent that Master Gohan had taught through gentle words became living principles tested in actual combat. Bulma witnessed firsthand how Goku's incredible abilities manifested under pressure. His speed left opponents grasping at empty air, while his strength shattered their most advanced weapons as if they were made of paper. But more impressive than his physical capabilities was his unwavering moral compass, his refusal to cause unnecessary harm even to those who sought to hurt him and others. The Dragon Radar led them through landscapes that showcased Earth's incredible diversity, from scorching deserts, where ancient pyramids held secrets spanning millennia, to frozen wastelands where survival itself became a daily challenge. Each environment tested different aspects of their partnership while revealing new facets of the planet they called home. During quiet moments between adventures, as they camped under star-filled skies or rested in peaceful villages where their heroic actions had restored hope, Goku began to understand that his grandfather's teachings had prepared him for something greater than he had ever imagined. The strength he had developed was not meant for personal glory, but rather as a tool for protecting those who could not protect themselves. The mystical nature of their quest became increasingly apparent as they encountered other seekers, each with their own reasons for pursuing the Dragon Balls. Some, like the desert bandit Yamcha, initially opposed them but eventually recognized the purity of their intentions and chose to join their cause. Others, like the turtle hermit Master Roshi, possessed wisdom and knowledge that helped them understand the true significance of their journey. Master Roshi's revelation about the Dragon Ball's origins provided their first glimpse into mysteries that stretched far beyond Earth's boundaries. His stories of ancient Namekian creators, of wish-granting dragons that had existed for centuries, and of previous generations who had sought the spheres for both noble and terrible purposes, painted a picture of cosmic forces operating on scales that dwarfed their current understanding. The old master's willingness to train Goku in advanced martial arts techniques represented a turning point in their adventure. What had begun as a simple treasure hunt evolved into a journey of personal growth and spiritual development. The training regimen that followed pushed Goku's abilities to new heights while teaching him that true strength came not from physical power alone, but from the wisdom to use that power responsibly. As their collection of Dragon Balls grew, so too did the magnitude of the forces arrayed against them. Each sphere they recovered brought them closer to their goal, but it also attracted increasingly dangerous opponents who viewed the dragon's power as their rightful prize. The final confrontation with the Red Ribbon Army's most advanced forces served as both a test of everything Goku had learned and a preview of even greater challenges that lay ahead. The moment when all 7 Dragon Balls finally came together, when the sky darkened and mystical energy crackled through the air, when the eternal dragon Shenron materialized in all his terrifying majesty, Goku understood that he had crossed a threshold from which there could be no return. The boy who had once been content with simple mountain life had become something more, a protector whose journey was just beginning. Standing before the magnificent form of Shenron, his serpentine body coiling through the darkened sky, while his red eyes blazed with ancient power, Goku felt the weight of destiny settling upon his shoulders. The eternal dragon's voice resonated with authority that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, yet there was something almost benevolent in his demeanor as he awaited their wish with infinite patience. The decision of what to ask for revealed the fundamental difference between Goku's pure-hearted nature and the selfish desires that had driven so many previous seekers. While others might have requested wealth, power, or dominion over their enemies, Goku's wish reflected the compassion that Master Gohan had carefully nurtured throughout his childhood. The resurrection of Bora, the gentle father who had died protecting his son from the Red Ribbon Army's cruelty, demonstrated that true strength lay in the ability to restore rather than destroy. Watching Shenron's magic work, seeing life return to someone who had fallen defending the innocent, Goku understood that he had been chosen for something far greater than personal advancement. The dragon's departure left the 7 spheres transformed into ordinary stone, scattered once again across the globe, but the experience had awakened something profound within him that would guide every decision in the years to come. The 3-year period that followed became a time of intense preparation and spiritual growth. Training under Master Roshi alongside Krillin forged bonds of friendship that would endure through countless trials. The Turtle Hermit's unconventional methods pushed both students far beyond what they had believed possible, not just in terms of physical ability, but in their understanding of what it meant to be a martial artist in a world where such skills carried tremendous responsibility. The rigorous daily routine began before dawn with meditation designed to center their minds and connect them to the life energy flowing through all living things. Milk delivery runs became endurance challenges that built both stamina and character, teaching them that true strength came from consistency and dedication rather than dramatic bursts of effort. The simple act of carrying heavy milk bottles across vast distances while maintaining perfect timing developed the kind of reliable power that could be summoned even under the most extreme stress. Krillin's presence provided Goku with something he had never experienced before, a peer whose dedication matched his own but whose background offered completely different perspectives on life and training. Where Goku's mountain upbringing had been filled with love and acceptance, Krillin had endured years of monastery training under harsh masters who viewed emotional attachment as weakness. Their friendship bridged these different approaches, creating a balance that made both fighters stronger. The World Martial Arts Tournament represented far more than a simple competition. It served as Goku's introduction to the wider community of Earth's warriors. Seeing so many dedicated fighters gathered in one place, each with their own unique style and philosophy, expanded his understanding of martial arts possibilities beyond anything he had previously imagined. His battle with Jackie Chun, who was actually Master Roshi in disguise, became a defining moment that shaped his entire future approach to training and combat. The old master's deception was motivated by wisdom rather than trickery, designed to prevent his young student from becoming complacent after what seemed like inevitable victory. The narrow defeat taught Goku that there would always be stronger opponents, higher levels of skill to achieve, and new techniques to master. The revelation of Jackie Chun's true identity came as a profound lesson in humility and the endless nature of martial arts development. Master Roshi's gentle explanation that victory in a single tournament meant nothing compared to a lifetime dedicated to continuous improvement resonated deeply with Goku's naturally curious spirit. This philosophy of eternal growth would become the driving force behind every training session and every battle he would face in the years ahead. The search for his grandfather's 4-star Dragon Ball led Goku into adventures that showcase both the beauty and the corruption that existed within human civilization. His encounters with the Red Ribbon Army's remnants revealed how power, unchecked by moral principles, inevitably led to suffering for the innocent. Each victory against these forces strengthened his resolve to use his abilities as a shield for those who could not defend themselves. The relationship with Chi-Chi that developed during the Second World Martial Arts Tournament introduced complexities to Goku's life that his simple mountain upbringing had not prepared him for. Her fierce determination and formidable fighting skills earned his respect as a warrior, while her emotional depth challenged him to understand feelings that went beyond friendship or rivalry. Their promise to marry, made in the innocence of childhood, would later transform his entire understanding of responsibility and commitment. The final confrontation with Piccolo Jr. at the 23rd tournament marked the end of Goku's youth and the beginning of his adult responsibilities. The demon's incredible power and malevolent intentions represented a threat unlike any he had faced before, requiring him to push beyond every limit he had previously accepted. The brutal nature of their battle, with its potential for catastrophic collateral damage, forced him to consider the broader implications of wielding such tremendous strength. Victory over Piccolo came at a cost that extended far beyond physical exhaustion, the knowledge that an even greater evil might be lurking somewhere beyond Earth's boundaries, that his defeated opponent was merely the offspring of an ancient threat that had once terrorized the planet, planted seeds of concern that would influence every peaceful moment in the years that followed. Marriage to Chi-Chi brought unexpected joy and challenges in equal measure. Her fierce protectiveness and unwavering support provided emotional strength he had never known he needed, while her practical concerns about providing for their future family grounded his warrior instincts in the realities of domestic life. The balance between his drive for constant improvement and her desire for a normal, peaceful existence created tensions that reflected the broader challenge of maintaining heroic ideals in a world that demanded practical compromises. The birth of Gohan represented the culmination of everything Goku had learned about responsibility and protection. Holding his infant son for the first time, seeing the potential for both incredible power and gentle compassion reflected in those innocent eyes, he understood that his role as Earth's protector had evolved into something far more personal and profound. Their simple home in the mountains became a sanctuary where the next generation could grow, surrounded by the same love and moral guidance that Master Gohan had provided years earlier. The daily routines of family life, from preparing meals to teaching basic academic subjects, revealed aspects of his character that even the most intense training had never touched. Yet even during these peaceful years, Goku continued his personal training regimen with the same dedication that had carried him through every previous challenge. Early morning exercises in the forest, meditation sessions beside flowing streams, and strength-building activities that utilized the mountain's natural obstacles maintained his physical capabilities, while providing the mental clarity necessary for the spiritual growth that true martial mastery demanded. The harmony of this domestic period, with its gentle rhythms and quiet satisfactions, created memories that would sustain him through the darker times ahead. These years of peace and growth prepared him not just for the battles that were approaching, but for the deeper understanding of what was truly worth fighting to protect when those battles finally arrived. The peaceful morning that would forever change the course of history began like countless others before it, with Goku working in his garden while Chi-Chi prepared breakfast and young Gohan played nearby. The domestic tranquility of their mountain home provided no warning of the cosmic forces that were about to descend upon their simple life, shattering everything they believed they knew about Goku's origins and his place in the universe. The first sign of disruption came not from the sky, but from an inexplicable change in the very air around them. Animals throughout the forest fell silent with instinctive dread, as if sensing the approach of something that violated the natural order of their world. The gentle morning breeze stopped completely, leaving an eerie stillness that made even the rustling of leaves seem supernaturally loud. When the spacecraft finally appeared, its alien design and impossible speed made it clear that this was no human technology. The vessel moved with purpose and intelligence, scanning the landscape below with sensors that operated on principles completely unknown to Earth science. Its arrival marked the end of humanity's isolation in the cosmos, and the beginning of an age where survival would depend on powers that most people could not even imagine. Raditz emerged from the craft with an arrogance that immediately set him apart from any opponent Goku had previously encountered. His wild hair defied gravity in patterns that seemed somehow familiar, while his armor and clothing spoke of advanced civilizations and warrior cultures that existed far beyond Earth's boundaries. But it was his eyes that truly revealed his alien nature, cold and calculating in ways that suggested a completely different relationship with concepts like mercy and compassion. The casual contempt with which Raditz dismissed Earth's military forces demonstrated power levels that dwarfed even Goku's impressive abilities. Watching this stranger destroy advanced aircraft with simple energy blasts, seeing him treat human weapons as nothing more than minor annoyances, Goku realized that he was facing something entirely outside his previous experience. But nothing could have prepared him for the revelation that followed. Raditz's claim of brotherhood seemed impossible at first, a cruel joke or psychological manipulation designed to confuse and disorient. Yet as the alien warrior detailed similarities in their appearance, their incredible strength and most significantly, their unusual tales, the evidence became increasingly difficult to dismiss. The truth about Goku's origins struck like a physical blow. Everything he had believed about his identity, his purpose, and his very nature crumbled in the face of Raditz's casual exposition. He was not an unusually gifted human who had been blessed with extraordinary abilities, but rather a member of an alien warrior race, whose very existence was built around conquest and destruction. The name Kakarot felt foreign on his lips, representing a version of himself that had been intended for purposes completely opposite to everything Master Gohan had taught him. According to Raditz, he should have grown up to become a world-destroying monster, eliminating all life on Earth to prepare it for sale to the highest bidder. The thought of causing such suffering, of betraying everything he had sworn to protect, filled him with horror that went beyond mere disgust. Raditz's description of planet Vegeta painted a picture of a civilization built on principles that challenged every moral foundation Goku had ever accepted. Saiyan society valued only strength and conquest, viewing compassion as weakness and mercy as failure. Children were evaluated purely on their power levels and combat potential, with those deemed insufficient simply discarded or assigned to backwater planets like Earth. The revelation that his parents had sent him to Earth, not out of love, but as part of a conquest mission, added another layer of tragedy to an already overwhelming situation. Bardock and Jean had been warriors in service to an empire that traded in genocide, yet somehow they had possessed enough foresight or conscience to give their son a chance at a different kind of life. Learning about Frieza's role in destroying planet Vegeta introduced concepts of evil that operated on cosmic scales. This Emperor of Destruction commanded forces capable of eliminating entire civilizations with casual indifference, treating the extinction of species as nothing more than business transactions. The idea that such beings existed, that they possessed power sufficient to destroy worlds, forced Goku to confront the possibility that Earth itself might be nothing more than a minor target in conflicts spanning galaxies. Raditz's ultimatum regarding young Gohan revealed the depth of Saiyan ruthlessness. The willingness to threaten an innocent child, to use a 4-year-old as leverage in negotiations, demonstrated how completely alien their value system was compared to human morality. Yet there were moments when Raditz seemed almost puzzled by Goku's reactions, as if genuine emotional attachment to family was a concept he could barely comprehend. The battle that followed pushed Goku beyond every limit he had previously known. Raditz's casual dismissal of his strongest attacks, his ability to withstand punishment that would have destroyed any human opponent, and his speed that made even Goku's enhanced reflexes seem sluggish, revealed just how vast the gulf between their respective power levels truly was. Piccolo's unexpected arrival added another layer of complexity to an already overwhelming situation. The former Demon King's offer of alliance against a common threat spoke to the magnitude of danger they faced, while his tactical analysis of Raditz's abilities provided crucial insights into Saiyan biology and psychology. The green-skinned warrior's knowledge of ki manipulation and energy attacks proved invaluable in developing strategies that might actually have some chance of success. The revelation of Gohan's hidden potential during the battle provided the first glimpse of power that transcended even Saiyan expectations. The child's explosive burst of strength, triggered by fear for his father's safety, demonstrated that emotional bonds could unlock abilities that cold calculation never could. This moment of instinctive power would later prove to be the key to understanding how Earth's defenders might eventually match alien threats. Goku's decision to sacrifice himself to ensure Raditz's defeat represented the ultimate expression of everything Master Gohan had taught him about protecting the innocent. Even knowing that his death would leave Chi-Chi widowed and Gohan fatherless, he chose to eliminate the threat rather than risk allowing this destroyer to escape and potentially summon even more dangerous allies. The special beam cannon, piercing through both Saiyan bodies, marked the end of Goku's simple life as Earth's strongest defender, and the beginning of an age where such titles would be measured against cosmic standards. His final moments were spent not in regret for his own fate, but in concern for his family and determination that his sacrifice would serve a greater purpose. Raditz's dying revelation about 2 even stronger Saiyans approaching Earth in 1 year's time cast a shadow over what should have been a moment of victory. Vegeta and Nappa represented threats that made their recently defeated opponents seem almost manageable by comparison. Elite warriors whose power levels defied comprehension, and whose arrival would test every lesson the Z fighters had learned. The Dragon Ball's ability to restore life offered hope for Goku's return, but the year of training that lay ahead would demand growth from all of Earth's defenders that pushed them far beyond anything they had previously imagined possible. Piccolo's reluctant acceptance of responsibility for Gohan's training created an unlikely mentorship that would transform both teacher and student in ways neither could predict. King Kai's planet in the afterlife provided training opportunities that existed nowhere in the mortal realm. The increased gravity, the unique exercises, and most importantly, the techniques like the spirit bomb that drew power from life itself rather than from destruction, began to prepare Goku for conflicts where individual strength alone would not be sufficient. The countdown to the Saiyan's arrival became a race between Earth's developing defenders and approaching forces whose very existence threatened not just their planet, but their entire way of understanding what was possible. Each day of training brought new revelations about the limits of power and the potential that lay dormant within those brave enough to push beyond what they had previously accepted as impossible. As the year of preparation drew to a close, the bonds forged between unlikely allies, the techniques mastered through desperate necessity, and the understanding that they faced enemies who viewed the destruction of worlds as casual entertainment, had transformed Earth's defenders from a collection of individual fighters into something approaching a true military force capable of defending their planet against cosmic-level threats. The year of preparation had transformed Earth's defenders in ways that none of them could have anticipated when they first learned of the approaching Saiyan threat. What began as desperate training sessions driven by fear had evolved into something approaching genuine military readiness, with each fighter developing skills that pushed them far beyond their previous limitations. Piccolo's training of young Gohan in the wilderness had been particularly transformative for both teacher and student. The former Demon King discovered that nurturing potential in another being brought satisfactions that his previous existence of conquest and destruction had never provided. Watching the child grow stronger while maintaining his gentle nature challenged every assumption Piccolo had held about power and its proper application. Gohan himself had undergone changes that went far beyond simple increases in fighting ability. The harsh conditions of survival training had awakened instincts and capabilities that his sheltered childhood had never required, yet somehow his essential compassion remained intact. This balance between warrior potential and innocent heart would prove crucial in the battles ahead. When the Saiyan pods finally pierced Earth's atmosphere, their arrival brought with it an energy signature that dwarfed anything the planet's defenders had ever encountered. The casual ease with which Vegeta and Nappa destroyed entire cities while searching for worthy opponents demonstrated power levels that made their year of intensive training seem almost insignificant by comparison. Yamcha's death served as a brutal introduction to the reality of Saiyan combat philosophy. The desert bandit who had grown from highway robber to trusted ally fell not in glorious battle, but as a victim of the Saiyabaman's self-destruct technique. His sacrifice revealed that these alien warriors viewed combat not as a test of skill or honor, but as entertainment where the suffering of their opponents provided amusement. The loss of such a dedicated friend and fighter struck the remaining Z fighters with grief that went beyond simple tactical concerns. Yamcha had represented the possibility that anyone, regardless of their origins or past mistakes, could choose to become a protector of the innocent. His death eliminated that hopeful perspective, replacing it with the harsh understanding that noble intentions alone were insufficient against overwhelming power. Nappa's casual brutality as he systematically destroyed his opponents revealed the true nature of elite Saiyan warriors. His enjoyment of their pain, his deliberate prolonging of battles that he could have ended instantly, and his complete dismissal of their courage demonstrated a mindset so alien that communication itself seemed impossible. Teen's noble sacrifice, using the last of his life energy in a technique that barely scratched his opponent, illustrated both the magnitude of the power gap they faced and the incredible courage that Earth's defenders possessed, despite knowing their efforts were likely futile. The three-eyed warrior's final stand became a testament to the human capacity for heroism even in the face of certain defeat. Chiaotzu's decision to sacrifice himself in an attempt to eliminate Nappa through self-destruction represented perhaps the purest expression of love and loyalty that any of them would witness during the entire conflict. The small psychic warrior chose annihilation not for glory or recognition, but simply because he could not bear to watch his best friend suffer alone. Piccolo's death, while protecting Gohan, marked a turning point that went beyond the immediate tactical implications of losing another powerful ally. The fact that Kami died as well, eliminating Earth's Dragon Balls and any hope of easy resurrection, forced the survivors to confront the possibility that their losses might be permanent. But it was Piccolo's emotional transformation in his final moments that truly demonstrated how much the former villain had changed during his year of training with Gohan. His confession that the child had been the first person to ever show him kindness revealed depths of character development that his previous existence as the Demon King had completely suppressed. Goku's arrival from his otherworldly training brought hope that seemed almost miraculous given the desperate situation his friends faced. His new techniques, enhanced speed and improved power levels suggested that perhaps the gap between Earth's defenders and their alien opponents was not quite as insurmountable as it had appeared. The Kaioken technique represented more than just a new fighting method. It embodied a completely different philosophy about the relationship between body, mind, and spirit in combat situations. King Kai's training had taught Goku that true power came not from rage or hatred, but from harmony with the life energy that connected all beings throughout the universe. His battle with Nappa demonstrated the effectiveness of this new approach, but also revealed its limitations. While the enhanced Goku could match and even exceed the large Saiyan's raw power, the physical strain of maintaining such levels threatened to destroy his body before he could achieve decisive victory. Vegeta's intervention, eliminating his own partner for failure to achieve quick victory, provided insight into Saiyan power structures that was both illuminating and terrifying. The prince's casual murder of someone who had been his companion for decades revealed a culture where weakness was not just discouraged but actively punished with death. The subsequent battle between Goku and Vegeta pushed both warriors beyond anything they had previously experienced. Their conflict raged across multiple locations, leaving destruction that testified to power levels that transcended normal human comprehension. Mountains crumbled under the force of their attacks, while energy blasts carved permanent scars across the landscape. Vegeta's great ape transformation seemed to represent the ultimate expression of Saiyan power, combining their natural warrior abilities with bestial fury that eliminated any remaining restraints of civilization or strategy. The massive creature that emerged from this metamorphosis possessed strength that made their previous battle seem like a gentle sparring session. Goku's spirit bomb represented perhaps the most profound technique he had learned during his otherworldly training, drawing energy from every living thing on Earth, from the smallest insects to the mightiest trees. The attack embodied a philosophy of combat that relied on cooperation rather than individual dominance. The technique's ultimate failure against Vegeta's overwhelming power initially seemed to validate the Saiyan Prince's philosophy that individual strength was the only truth that mattered in the universe. Yet the energy that Goku had gathered did not simply dissipate, but rather remained available for others to harness if they possessed the wisdom and courage to attempt it. Krillin's decision to catch and redirect the spirit bomb demonstrated growth that went far beyond simple increases in fighting ability. The former monk's willingness to trust in Goku's judgment, even when it meant handling energy that could easily destroy him if misused, represented the kind of faith that their friendship had built over years of shared struggles. Gohan's successful use of the redirected energy to finally defeat Vegeta provided what seemed like validation of everything they had learned about the power of teamwork and mutual support. The child's pure heart, combined with the life energy gathered from across the planet, had proven capable of overcoming even elite Saiyan strength. Vegeta's retreat in his damaged space pod appeared to mark the end of the immediate threat to Earth. The prince's grudging acknowledgement of their strength, his promise to return when he had recovered, and his obvious surprise at being defeated by supposedly inferior beings suggested that perhaps Saiyan supremacy was not as absolute as their culture claimed. The victory celebration that followed was tempered by the knowledge of how much they had lost, and how narrowly they had avoided complete destruction. The deaths of Yamcha, Tien, Chiaozu, and Piccolo left gaps in their ranks that could not easily be filled, while the elimination of Earth's Dragon Balls meant that resurrection would require a journey to the mystical planet Namek. The journey to Namek began not with grand declarations or elaborate preparations, but with the quiet desperation of friends unwilling to accept permanent loss. Bulma's Namekian spaceship, hastily rebuilt using technology that pushed even her considerable genius to its limits, represented humanity's first serious attempt to reach beyond their solar system for purposes other than simple exploration. As Earth dwindled behind them, becoming just another point of light among countless stars, the small group of travelers found themselves confronting the true scale of the universe for the first time. The vastness of space, with its endless darkness punctuated only by distant suns and the occasional glimpse of alien worlds, provided a humbling perspective on their planet's actual significance in the cosmic order. The months of space travel gave them time to process everything that had changed since Raditz's arrival. Gohan's rapid development during their journey revealed potential that even Piccolo's harsh training had only begun to tap. The child's natural curiosity about their destination, combined with his growing understanding of the stakes involved, created a maturity that seemed almost unnatural for someone his age. Krillin's presence provided emotional stability during the long voyage. His friendship with Goku, forged through years of shared training and mutual respect, gave him unique insight into what their lost comrade would have wanted them to do. His gentle guidance of Gohan, stepping naturally into something approaching an uncle's role, demonstrated how the bonds between Z fighters extended far beyond simple military alliance. Vegeta's separate journey to the same destination added an element of uncertainty that cast shadows over their entire mission. The Saiyan Prince's recovery in a medical facility that represented the pinnacle of galactic healing technology had not only restored his body, but enhanced it beyond its previous limitations. His head start meant that they would be arriving on a world where their most dangerous enemy had already gained significant advantage. The first glimpse of Namek through their ship's viewports revealed a world of stunning beauty that seemed almost too perfect to be real. 3 suns illuminated landscapes of crystalline lakes and emerald grasslands, while towering rock formations created natural architecture that spoke of geological processes completely unlike anything found on Earth. Yet this paradise held dark secrets that became apparent as they descended through the planet's atmosphere. The absence of any response to their communications, the lack of visible cities or signs of civilization, and most ominously, the energy signatures that their instruments detected scattered across the surface, told a story of violence and destruction that had recently visited this peaceful world. Their crash landing, caused by damage that Vegeta had inflicted on their ship during his own arrival, stranded them on a planet where survival itself would depend on avoiding detection by forces whose power levels dwarfed anything they had previously encountered. The Ginyu force's presence transformed what should have been a rescue mission into a desperate struggle for survival. Frieza's involvement elevated the stakes beyond anything they had imagined possible. The Galactic Emperor's casual genocide, his treatment of entire civilizations as commodities to be bought and sold, and his personal interest in immortality through the Dragon Balls, created a web of threat that encompassed not just their missing friends, but potentially every living being in the universe. The Namekian villages they discovered painted a picture of a culture that embodied peace and wisdom in ways that made their destruction even more tragic. These gentle beings, whose entire civilization was built around harmony with nature and spiritual development, had been systematically hunted down by forces that viewed their knowledge of the Dragon Balls as the only thing about them worth preserving. Dende's survival, hidden among the refugees that Frieza's forces had overlooked, provided both hope and heartbreak in equal measure. The young Namekian's healing abilities and his knowledge of his people's language would prove crucial to their mission, yet his traumatic experiences and the loss of his entire family served as constant reminders of the cost that their quest had already extracted from innocent beings. The discovery of Nail, guardian of Grand Elder Guru, introduced them to concepts of power and duty that transcended individual ambition. This warrior, whose entire existence was dedicated to protecting the last repository of Namekian wisdom, represented the kind of selfless devotion that their Earth-based understanding of heroism had only begun to approach. Grand Elder Guru himself embodied mysteries that stretched back to the origins of the Dragon Balls themselves. His vast knowledge, accumulated over centuries of existence, revealed that the wish-granting spheres were not simply magical artifacts, but rather expressions of divine power that connected to the fundamental forces governing life and death throughout the universe. The awakening of hidden potential within both Gohan and Krillin through Guru's mystical abilities provided the first real hope that they might be capable of facing the threats that awaited them. These enhancements went beyond simple increases in fighting strength, unlocking capabilities that had been dormant within them since birth, but required the wisdom of ages to properly access. Vegeta's alliance with them, born of necessity rather than any genuine change of heart, created a partnership that none of them truly trusted, yet all of them desperately needed. The Saiyan Prince's intimate knowledge of Frieza's methods and capabilities made him an invaluable resource, even as his continued arrogance and casual cruelty served as constant reminders that their cooperation was temporary at best. The Ginyu force's arrival brought with it a level of theatrical brutality that somehow made their power even more terrifying. These elite warriors treated combat not as a necessary evil or even as a test of skill, but as performance art where the suffering of their victims provided entertainment for audiences across the galaxy. Captain Ginyu's body-switching ability represented a type of threat that none of Earth's defenders had ever contemplated. The possibility that their own strength could be turned against them, that their bodies could become weapons in enemy hands, challenged their fundamental understanding of what it meant to be a warrior in conflicts that spanned star systems. Goku's recovery in the Namekian healing chambers, and his subsequent arrival on the planet marked a turning point that brought both relief and new complications. His enhanced power levels, achieved through training in gravity conditions that would have crushed normal humans, suggested that perhaps the gap between Earth's defenders and galactic-level threats was finally beginning to narrow. The techniques he had mastered during his journey, particularly his improved control over the Kaioken multipliers, demonstrated growth that went beyond simple increases in raw strength. His understanding of how to harness life energy more efficiently, how to push his body beyond previously accepted limits without destroying it, and most importantly, how to maintain his compassionate nature even when facing enemies of unimaginable cruelty, represented evolution in every aspect of his character. Yet even these impressive developments paled in comparison to the legends that began to surface during their time on Namek. whispered stories of a transformation so rare that it appeared perhaps once in a millennium, of a power so great that it could challenge even Frieza's seemingly unlimited strength, began to provide hope that seemed almost too dangerous to embrace. The Super Saiyan legend, dismissed by most as primitive mythology from a warrior culture that no longer existed, started to seem less like fantasy and more like prophecy, as Goku's power continued to grow under the pressure of increasingly desperate circumstances. Ancient tales spoke of a golden warrior whose very presence would herald a new age in the balance of power throughout the universe. Frieza's own knowledge of these legends, and more importantly his obvious fear of their potential fulfillment, suggested that perhaps the stories contained more truth than even their believers had dared to hope. The Emperor's personal involvement in the destruction of planet Vegeta began to seem less like casual genocide and more like desperate preemptive action against a threat he knew he might not be able to control. The planet itself seemed to respond to the increasing levels of conflict being waged upon its surface. Seismic activity triggered by energy blasts of impossible magnitude began to destabilize the geological structures that had maintained Namek's perfect environment for countless generations. What had been paradise was slowly transforming into a world where survival would become increasingly difficult for anyone without the ability to exist in space. As the various forces converged toward their inevitable confrontation, each carrying hopes, fears, and ambitions that would determine the fate of countless worlds, Namek became a stage where the future balance of power in the universe would be decided through combat between beings whose abilities had transcended the normal limitations of mortal existence. The battles that erupted across Namek's pristine landscape revealed power levels that redefined what the universe's inhabitants had previously believed possible. Each confrontation pushed the boundaries of physics further beyond recognition, with energy attacks that carved permanent scars across continents and speed that made light itself seem sluggish by comparison. Piccolo's fusion with Nail represented more than just a strategic alliance between two warriors facing impossible odds. The merging of their consciousness created something entirely new, a being whose power transcended the simple addition of their individual abilities. This union of Earth's former Demon King with Namek's last guardian became a symbol of how cooperation could achieve what individual strength never could. The transformation that resulted from their fusion went beyond mere increases in fighting capability. Piccolo's recovered memories of his true heritage, his understanding of the peaceful civilization that had created him, and his newfound connection to the planet that had given birth to his species, created an emotional depth that his previous existence had completely lacked. His battle against Frieza's second form demonstrated both the incredible heights that fusion could achieve and the sobering reality of the Emperor's seemingly unlimited reserves of power. Watching someone who had once been Earth's greatest threat struggle against an opponent who treated him as little more than a minor annoyance provided stark perspective on the cosmic hierarchy they were challenging. Frieza's transformations themselves revealed the true scope of his power in ways that mere demonstrations never could have conveyed. Each new form represented not just increased strength but fundamental changes in his very nature that pushed him further beyond conventional understanding of what living beings could become. His second form's increased size and bulk spoke to raw physical power that could shatter planets through simple punches. The third form's alien beauty masked predatory instincts that had been refined over decades of conquest and destruction. But it was his final form, sleek and seemingly delicate, that truly embodied the perfection of evolutionary development guided by malevolent intelligence. The casual ease with which this ultimate Frieza dominated fighters who had seemed impossibly powerful just moments before demonstrated why his empire had remained unchallenged for so long. His speed made their fastest movements appear to be occurring in slow motion, while his energy attacks carried enough force to alter the planet's rotation with their impact. Gohan's performance during these battles revealed growth that went far beyond what any of them had expected from someone so young. The child's instinctive tactical awareness, his ability to analyze opponent weaknesses even under extreme pressure, and most importantly, his capacity to access power reserves that seemed to emerge only when others were in mortal danger, marked him as perhaps the most naturally gifted fighter any of them had ever encountered. Yet it was his emotional responses to the violence surrounding him that truly set him apart from traditional warriors. Where others might become hardened or desensitized to brutality, Gohan's compassion only seemed to deepen as he witnessed more suffering. This paradoxical combination of devastating combat ability with genuine gentleness created a type of warrior that none of the galaxy's traditional power structures knew how to categorize or counter. The Dragon Balls of Namek, when finally gathered, revealed wishes that could exceed Earth's dragon by orders of magnitude. Poronga's ability to grant 3 separate requests, his capacity to restore life to multiple individuals simultaneously, and most significantly, his willingness to transport entire populations across interstellar distances, demonstrated the true potential of Namekian magic at its most refined. The resurrection of Piccolo through these enhanced Dragon Balls created ripple effects that extended far beyond simple restoration of life. His return to Earth automatically revived that planet's own dragon, restoring their safety net against permanent loss, while simultaneously providing Piccolo with power levels enhanced by his otherworldly training experiences. The decision to wish their Earth-based friends back to Namek rather than to safety represented a profound expression of trust in their abilities and dedication to the cause. Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu arrived on an alien world in the middle of a conflict that exceeded anything in their previous experience. Yet their immediate commitment to helping however they could demonstrated the bonds that held the Z fighters together across impossible distances and circumstances. Vegeta's increasing desperation as he witnessed power levels that dwarfed his own created a fascinating study in how pride could both motivate and destroy. The Saiyan prince's entire identity was built around concepts of genetic superiority and royal privilege, yet here he found himself repeatedly outmatched by beings he had dismissed as inferior trash. His tears of rage and frustration when confronted with Frieza's true power revealed vulnerabilities that his arrogant facade had previously concealed. The realization that all his training, all his genetic advantages, and all his royal bloodline meant nothing against someone who viewed him as just another minor obstacle to be eliminated, created cracks in his worldview that would never fully heal. The planet's increasing instability added an element of environmental pressure that made every battle more desperate. Namek's 3 suns began to flicker as the world's core destabilized from the massive energy discharges occurring on its surface. What had once been a paradise of perfect climate and abundant life was transforming into a hellscape where survival would soon become impossible for anyone without the ability to exist in space. Goku's arrival at full strength marked the beginning of the final phase of their desperate struggle. His power levels, enhanced through gravity training that had pushed his body beyond anything Saiyan evolution had previously achieved, gave them their first real hope that Frieza might actually be defeatable through conventional combat methods. The techniques he demonstrated during the early stages of his battle with the Galactic Emperor showcased growth that went beyond simple increases in raw power. His improved efficiency in energy usage, his enhanced speed that allowed him to keep pace with Frieza's movements, and most importantly, his tactical awareness that had been sharpened through months of training under conditions that would have killed lesser beings, represented evolution in every aspect of his fighting ability. Yet even these impressive improvements seemed insufficient when measured against Frieza's casual displays of power. The Emperor's ability to fight at full intensity while simultaneously carrying on conversations, his obvious amusement at Goku's techniques, and his frequent comments about how he was merely toying with his opponent, made it clear that they were still operating at different levels entirely. The Ginyu force's earlier defeat had provided valuable intelligence about Frieza's methods and psychology, but it had also revealed the depths of cruelty that drove his actions. His willingness to eliminate his own subordinates for failure, his enjoyment of psychological torture, and his complete inability to comprehend concepts like mercy or compassion, created an opponent whose defeat would require not just superior power but fundamentally different approaches to combat. King Kai's growing panic as he monitored the battle from his otherworldly observatory provided commentary that underscored just how unprecedented this conflict had become. The god's usual calm demeanor cracked as he witnessed power displays that exceeded his understanding of what mortal beings should be capable of achieving. His warnings about the universal implications of their battle went beyond simple concern for the participants involved. Frieza's defeat would create a power vacuum that could destabilize the entire galactic political structure, while his victory would validate an approach to cosmic governance that treated entire civilizations as disposable resources. The ancient prophecies that various characters began to reference during the conflict took on new significance as events unfolded in patterns that seemed to mirror legendary tales of cosmic transformation. Stories of golden warriors and universe-shaking battles that had previously been dismissed as mythology began to seem more like historical records of events that occurred in cycles spanning millennia. As the battle reached its crescendo, with power levels that threatened to tear the very fabric of space and time, Namek itself became a symbol of how conflicts between gods and mortals inevitably consumed everything they touched, leaving behind only legends and warnings for future generations to contemplate. The moment that would reshape the entire universe began not with grand proclamations or dramatic transformations, but with the death of an innocent. Krillin's body, broken and lifeless at Frieza's feet, represented more than just the loss of a loyal friend and dedicated warrior. His murder triggered something primal within Goku that transcended every lesson about mercy and restraint that Master Gohan had ever taught. The rage that built within Earth's greatest defender went beyond simple anger or even grief. This was fury that reached back through genetic memories to the very origins of the Saiyan race, connecting him to ancestors who had fought across galaxies when the universe was young. Every emotion he had suppressed during years of gentle training erupted simultaneously, creating internal pressure that his mortal form could no longer contain. When the golden aura first began to manifest around his body, even Frieza paused in his casual cruelty to observe what was occurring. The Emperor who had conquered thousands of worlds recognized power when he saw it. But this transformation defied his understanding of what mortal beings should be capable of achieving. The very air around them seemed to vibrate with energy that made reality itself appear unstable. Goku's hair, lifted by forces that had nothing to do with wind or gravity, shifted from its familiar black to a brilliant gold that seemed to capture and reflect light from sources that did not exist. His eyes, normally warm with compassion and curiosity, became pools of emerald fire that held depths of power that even he did not fully comprehend. But it was the change in his presence that truly marked this as something unprecedented in galactic history. Where once stood a martial artist dedicated to protection and growth, there now existed something that could only be described as a force of nature given conscious form. The gentle warrior who preferred solving conflicts through understanding had been temporarily replaced by vengeance incarnate. Frieza's initial dismissal of this transformation as mere theatrical display crumbled within moments of their resumed battle. His attacks, which had previously sent Goku flying across continents, now barely moved his opponent from his chosen position. Energy blasts that could destroy planets were casually deflected or simply absorbed without apparent effort. The realization that he was no longer the strongest being in the universe struck the Galactic Emperor with terror that he had not experienced since childhood. Every aspect of his identity, from his imperial authority to his personal sense of invincibility, was built upon the foundation of absolute power. Watching that foundation crumble under the assault of a primitive monkey from a backwater planet shattered his psychological equilibrium completely. Goku's newfound abilities went far beyond simple increases in strength or speed. His enhanced senses could track movements that occurred faster than light itself, while his energy control had become so refined that he could focus destructive force with surgical precision. Most remarkably, his tactical awareness had evolved to levels that allowed him to predict and counter strategies before his opponents had fully formed them. Yet perhaps the most significant aspect of this legendary transformation was how it affected his fundamental nature. The compassionate warrior who had always sought to redeem his enemies found himself struggling against instincts that demanded complete annihilation of the threat before him. The Super Saiyan form brought with it not just power, but psychological changes that challenged everything he believed about himself. The battle that followed redefined what was possible in single combat between individuals. Their movements created sonic booms that shattered mountains, while their energy exchanges carved canyons that would become permanent features of Namek's geography. The very planet groaned under the stress of forces that exceeded what its geological structure had been designed to withstand. Frieza's desperate transformation into his 100% power form represented his final attempt to maintain supremacy through raw strength alone. The Emperor's body, pushed beyond its normal limitations, began to literally tear itself apart from the internal pressure required to access these ultimate reserves. Yet even this suicidal enhancement proved insufficient against the legendary power that faced him. The psychological warfare that accompanied their physical conflict revealed depths of character in both warriors that their previous actions had only hinted at. Frieza's attempts to break Goku's concentration through threats against his family and friends demonstrated the Emperor's understanding that pure power meant nothing without the will to use it effectively. Goku's responses to these provocations showed how completely the transformation had altered his personality. Where he might once have been distracted by concern for others, the Super Saiyan form provided focus that was almost mechanical in its precision. His usual tendency to show mercy became secondary to the imperative of eliminating a threat that could never be safely contained. The planet's accelerating destruction added urgency that made every moment precious. Namek's core, destabilized by the massive energy discharges occurring on its surface, began the countdown to an explosion that would eliminate everything within several star systems. What had been a battle for supremacy became a race against time itself. King Kai's frantic commentary from the afterlife provided perspective on just how unprecedented these events had become. The deity's usual wisdom seemed inadequate when confronted with power levels that challenged the established order of divine hierarchy. His warnings about the universal implications of their battle carried weight that extended far beyond immediate concerns about planetary destruction. The revelation that this transformation fulfilled ancient prophecies changed how everyone understood Saiyan history and potential. Stories that had been dismissed as primitive mythology suddenly became historical records of events that occurred in cycles spanning millennia. The Golden Warrior of legend was not just a symbol, but a recurring reality that appeared whenever the universe required rebalancing. Vegeta's reaction to witnessing the Super Saiyan transformation provided insight into how completely it shattered established understanding of Saiyan genetics and potential. The prince's entire worldview was built upon concepts of royal bloodlines and genetic superiority, yet here was a low-class warrior achieving power that exceeded every royal ancestor combined. His mixture of awe, envy, and desperate hunger to achieve this transformation himself would drive his character development for years to come. The realization that individual effort and emotional growth could transcend bloodline advantages challenged every assumption he had held about his own destiny and worthiness. The other Zerd fighters, watching from safe distances as gods battled for universal supremacy, found themselves confronting the reality that their friend had evolved beyond their ability to comprehend or assist. Goku's transformation represented not just personal growth, but evolution into something that existed on entirely different levels of existence. Piccolo's observations carried particular weight given his recent fusion with Nail and recovery of his Namekian heritage. His understanding of both earthly martial arts and cosmic power structures gave him unique perspective on what this transformation meant for the balance of forces throughout the galaxy. Gohan's reaction to his father's transformation mixed pride with concern in ways that foreshadowed his own future potential. The child's instinctive understanding that this power came at significant personal cost to the man he loved demonstrated wisdom beyond his years and emotional depth that would prove crucial in battles yet to come. As the battle reached its climax, with Namek's final destruction imminent and Frieza's power finally beginning to fail against the sustained assault of legendary might, the universe prepared for changes that would reshape the balance of power between mortals and gods for generations to come. The Super Saiyan transformation represented more than just the fulfillment of ancient prophecy or the achievement of ultimate power. It marked the beginning of an age where mortal beings could challenge divine authority directly, where individual growth could transcend the limitations that gods had previously assumed were absolute. Frieza's eventual defeat, when it finally came, carried implications that extended far beyond simple victory in battle. The Galactic Emperor's fall would create power vacuums that ambitious beings throughout the universe would rush to fill, while his survival would ensure that the lesson of mortal potential reaching divine levels would spread to every corner of civilized space. The Golden Warrior floating above a dying world had become something that legends would struggle to adequately describe, yet his essential nature remained tied to the gentle teachings of an old martial artist who had raised an alien child with love and wisdom in a peaceful mountain home. The 3 years of peace that followed Namek's destruction provided Earth with a deceptive calm that masked the cosmic forces already moving toward their world. While humanity celebrated their hero's return and began rebuilding lives interrupted by alien invasion, time itself was being manipulated by powers that viewed temporal mechanics as just another battlefield to be conquered. Future Trunks arrived not as a conqueror or explorer, but as a messenger bearing warnings that challenged every assumption about cause and effect. His purple hair and piercing blue eyes marked him as something unique even among the extraordinary beings who had become Earth's protectors. But it was his casual demonstration of Super Saiyan power that truly announced the magnitude of changes occurring across multiple timelines. The sword that hung across his back was no ordinary weapon, but rather a blade forged in the fires of apocalyptic struggle. Every nick in its edge told stories of battles against mechanical horrors that had turned his version of Earth into a wasteland where hope was a luxury that few could afford. His mastery of both traditional swordsmanship and energy manipulation created a fighting style that was both elegant and brutally efficient. His revelation about the androids scheduled to arrive in 3 years' time painted a future so bleak that even the Z fighters struggled to accept its possibility. In his timeline, artificial beings created by the Red Ribbon Army's last surviving scientist had systematically hunted down every warrior capable of opposing them. The descriptions of cities reduced to rubble, of populations fleeing in terror from mechanical predators, and of heroes dying one by one in hopeless battles created images that haunted everyone who heard them. Dr. Gero's survival and continued research represented a threat that none of them had properly assessed. While they had been focused on cosmic enemies and galactic empires, a more insidious danger had been growing in the shadows of their own world. The elderly scientist's 20-year quest for revenge had produced creations that combined human intelligence with mechanical precision and power levels that exceeded even Super Saiyan capabilities. The concept of multiple timelines opened philosophical questions that challenged their basic understanding of choice and consequence. If Future Trunks' arrival had already changed their timeline's destiny, what did that mean for the billions of people in his original reality who would continue to suffer under android oppression? The weight of knowing that their actions could save one world while condemning another created moral complexities that simple heroism could not resolve. Vegeta's reaction to learning about his future son revealed depths of character development that his arrogant facade had previously concealed. The proud prince's immediate assumption that any child of his would naturally surpass Goku demonstrated how completely his defeat on Namek had failed to teach him humility. Yet his genuine concern for Bulma's welfare during her pregnancy showed growth that he himself probably did not recognize. The 3 years of preparation that followed transformed each fighter in ways that went beyond simple increases in power. Goku's decision to remain in Super Saiyan form for extended periods, treating the transformation as a state to be mastered rather than a temporary enhancement, represented a fundamental shift in how he approached martial arts development. His training with Gohan during this period created bonds that transcended the usual father-son relationship. Teaching his child to access and control Super Saiyan power required Goku to understand his own transformation at levels he had never previously explored. The gentle patience he showed in guiding Gohan through the emotional turmoil of the legendary form demonstrated how fatherhood had enhanced rather than diminished his warrior's instincts. Piccolo's fusion with Kami represented perhaps the most significant character development of the entire preparation period. The reunion of Earth's guardian with his other half-healed divisions that had existed for centuries, while creating a being whose power transcended the simple addition of their separate abilities. More importantly, it restored his memories of Namek and his understanding of his true purpose as a protector rather than a conqueror. The moral implications of this fusion went beyond tactical considerations. Kami's willingness to sacrifice his individual existence for the greater good, knowing that it would eliminate Earth's Dragon Balls and any safety net against permanent death, demonstrated the depth of his commitment to protecting the planet he had served for so long. Vegeta's training during this period revealed how completely his pride had been both his greatest strength and his most dangerous weakness. His refusal to accept that Goku had achieved something he could not drove him to push his body and mind beyond every previous limitation. The gravity chamber that Bulma built for him became both a forge for unprecedented power and a prison where his obsessions could consume him without endangering others. The emergence of Cell represented a threat that combined the worst aspects of every enemy they had previously faced. This bioengineered predator possessed not just the power of multiple Z fighters, but their techniques, their tactical knowledge, and most terrifyingly, their capacity for growth under pressure. His very existence proved that their enemies had been studying them, learning from their methods, and developing counters for their greatest strengths. The revelation of Cell's time-traveling origins added layers of complexity to an already unprecedented situation. The mechanical horror had murdered future Trunks in an alternate timeline, stolen his time machine, and traveled to their era seeking the androids he needed to achieve perfect form. This violation of temporal mechanics carried implications that reached far beyond simple combat considerations. Dr. Gero's laboratory, when finally discovered, contained horrors that redefined what scientific research could become when divorced from ethical constraints. The preserved remains of countless fighters, the data files documenting decades of surveillance and analysis, and most disturbing of all, the evidence of experiments conducted on living subjects, painted a picture of obsession that had long since crossed the line into madness. Android 16's unexpected gentleness toward living creatures, particularly his love of birds and natural environments, created philosophical questions about the nature of consciousness and compassion in artificial beings. His peaceful nature, combined with power levels that exceeded even the combat models that had terrorized future Trunks' timeline, suggested that Dr. Gero's creations had developed beyond their programmer's intentions in ways he could never have anticipated. Android 17 and 18's casual approach to destruction reflected not malice, but rather a complete disconnect from human values and consequences. Their treatment of combat as entertainment, their view of cities as playgrounds, and their inability to comprehend why their actions caused suffering created enemies who were more dangerous than traditional villains, because they lacked the predictable motivations that could be reasoned with or countered. The Cell game's announcement transformed what should have been a private conflict into a global crisis that exposed humanity to threats they were completely unprepared to comprehend. Cell's decision to broadcast his challenge to the entire world forced ordinary people to confront the reality that their planet's survival depended on warriors whose power levels transcended normal understanding. The tournament format that Cell chose for this ultimate confrontation carried psychological implications that went beyond simple combat considerations. By structuring his challenge as a martial arts competition, complete with rules and formal proceedings, he demonstrated intelligence and psychological sophistication that made him far more dangerous than a mere mindless destroyer. Goku's decision to allow Cell to achieve perfect form, rather than preventing the absorption of Android 18, revealed how completely his warrior's instincts had evolved beyond simple victory calculations. His desire to face opponents at their strongest, combined with his confidence in his own growth potential, created situations where the stakes extended far beyond personal consequences. The 10-day preparation period before the Cell games began saw each fighter confronting their deepest fears about power, responsibility, and the possibility of permanent failure. Training that had once been focused on personal improvement became desperate preparation for what might be their final battle to protect everything they held dear. As the tournament approached and Cell's perfect form continued to demonstrate power that seemed to have no upper limits, each of Earth's defenders found themselves facing not just external threats but internal questions about whether their strength would prove sufficient when the moment of ultimate testing finally arrived. The hyperbolic time chamber became more than just a training facility during those crucial days before the Cell games. Within its otherworldly confines, where time moved differently and reality itself seemed more malleable, father and son underwent transformations that would reshape both their individual characters and their relationship in ways that extended far beyond simple increases in fighting ability. Goku's approach to training Gohan revealed how completely fatherhood had changed his understanding of strength and its proper application. Where his own martial arts development had been driven by personal curiosity and the joy of surpassing previous limitations, teaching his son required him to confront the reality that power without wisdom could destroy everything he hoped to protect. The year they spent together in that timeless space created memories that would sustain them through every future trial. Simple moments of shared meals, quiet conversations about the nature of strength and responsibility, and the gradual recognition of Gohan's incredible potential combined to forge bonds that transcended the usual relationships between master and student, or even father and child. Gohan's evolution during this period represented perhaps the most remarkable character development in their entire history. The gentle child who preferred studying to fighting discovered reserves of power that exceeded even his father's legendary transformation, More importantly, he learned to access this strength without losing the compassion that made him fundamentally different from traditional warriors. His achievement of Super Saiyan 2, marked by the crackling lightning that danced around his golden aura, represented more than just another level of power. This transformation embodied the perfect fusion of Saiyan warrior instincts with the moral principles that Chi-Chi and Goku had carefully nurtured throughout his childhood. The result was a fighter whose strength was amplified rather than corrupted by his desire to protect innocent life. Vegeta's parallel training with future Trunks created a different but equally profound dynamic. The proud prince found himself confronting not just his own limitations but the reality of how his character flaws had affected his relationships with those closest to him. Training alongside the son he had never properly acknowledged forced him to examine whether royal bloodlines mattered less than the bonds created through mutual respect and shared struggle. The ascended Super Saiyan form that both Vegeta and Trunks achieved during their time in the chamber represented the dangers of pursuing power without understanding its true nature. Their massively increased strength came at the cost of speed and flexibility, creating fighters who were theoretically more powerful but practically less effective in actual combat situations. This lesson about the relationship between raw power and fighting effectiveness would prove crucial in understanding why Goku's approach to training focused on efficiency and control, rather than simply maximizing energy output. His mastery of the standard Super Saiyan form, treating it as a natural state rather than a temporary enhancement, demonstrated wisdom that went beyond tactical considerations. Piccolo's decision to enter the time chamber alone reflected his unique position among Earth's defenders. As the only fighter whose strength came entirely from personal discipline rather than genetic advantages or external enhancements, he represented the potential that existed within dedicated training and unwavering determination. His growth during this period went beyond simple power increases, to encompass a deeper understanding of his role as both a fighter and a teacher. The fusion with Kami had restored his memories of peaceful Namekian culture, creating internal conflicts between his warrior instincts and his species' natural inclinations toward harmony and protection. The knowledge that each fighter carried into the Cell Games represented generations of martial arts, wisdom condensed into desperate preparation for ultimate testing. Master Roshi's teachings about the importance of mental discipline, King Kai's lessons about drawing power from life itself rather than destruction, and Kami's understanding of the responsibilities that came with guardianship all converged in techniques that had been refined through countless hours of focused training. Cell's patient observation of their preparations added psychological pressure that went beyond simple combat considerations. Knowing that their enemy was analyzing every technique, studying every weakness, and adapting his own abilities based on their demonstrated capabilities created a strategic nightmare where traditional training methods might actually work against them. The public nature of the approaching Cell Games forced each fighter to confront questions about their motivations that went beyond personal desires for growth or victory. Television broadcasts and media coverage meant that their actions would be witnessed by the entire human population, creating responsibilities that extended far beyond the martial arts arena. Goku's surprising decision to forfeit his battle against Cell in favor of allowing Gohan to face the bioengineered horror represented perhaps the most controversial choice of his entire career. His confidence in his son's abilities, combined with his understanding that some battles required not just power, but the specific type of strength that came from fighting to protect, rather than simply to win, demonstrated wisdom that few of his allies initially understood. The revelation that Cell possessed not just their techniques but their actual genetic material raised disturbing questions about the boundaries of scientific research and the ethics of creating life for the sole purpose of destruction. Dr. Gero's final creation embodied the worst possible outcome when brilliant intelligence was divorced from moral constraints and focused entirely on revenge. Android 16's final sacrifice to awaken Gohan's true potential provided the emotional catalyst necessary to access power that had remained dormant despite years of training. The gentle android's love of life and his dying words about the beauty of the natural world created the perfect counterpoint to Cell's philosophy of destruction and conquest. The moment when Gohan finally achieved his ultimate transformation marked not just the emergence of unprecedented power, but the birth of a new type of warrior, whose strength was amplified rather than corrupted by his emotional connections to others. His tears of rage at 16's destruction became the fuel that powered abilities that exceeded every previous understanding of what mortal beings could achieve. The battle that followed redefined what was possible in single combat, while simultaneously demonstrating the dangers of power that exceeded the wisdom necessary to control it. Cell's desperate decision to self-destruct rather than accept defeat created a crisis that threatened not just the tournament participants but every living being on Earth. Goku's instant transmission sacrifice, teleporting himself and Cell to King Kai's planet to contain the explosion, represented the ultimate expression of everything Master Gohan had taught him about protecting others, even at the cost of his own life. His casual farewell and gentle smile as he faced certain death demonstrated how completely he had internalized the lesson that true strength meant accepting responsibility for the consequences of power. The emergence of Super Perfect Cell from his own destruction created a final test that pushed every survivor beyond their absolute limits. The bio-android's enhanced abilities, combined with his regenerative powers and accumulated battle experience, represented a threat that seemed to exceed any solution their combined wisdom could provide. Vegeta's unexpected intervention, attacking Cell despite knowing he was completely outmatched, revealed character growth that his pride had previously made impossible. His acknowledgement that Goku was the superior warrior, combined with his determination to honor their rivalry through one final act of courage, demonstrated how completely his understanding of strength and worthiness had evolved. The final father-son Kamehameha, with Goku's spirit guiding Gohan's technique from beyond death, represented more than just a powerful attack. This fusion of their energies across the boundary between life and death embodied every lesson about the power of bonds that transcend individual limitations, creating a force that proved sufficient to eliminate even Perfect Cell's seemingly unlimited regenerative abilities. As the smoke cleared and Cell's final destruction was confirmed, the survivors found themselves inheriting a world that had been forever changed by their struggle. The knowledge that such threats could emerge from within their own planet, combined with the loss of Earth's greatest protector, created responsibilities that would shape their development for years to come. 7 years of peace had allowed the world to heal from the scars left by Cell's rampage. But beneath this tranquil surface, forces both ancient and malevolent stirred with purposes that would soon shatter the illusion of safety that Earth's inhabitants had grown accustomed to. The children who had been born into this era of calm would soon discover that their peaceful world was built upon foundations far more fragile than their parents had dared to admit. Gohan's transformation from the universe's youngest Super Saiyan into a dedicated scholar represented more than just personal growth. His choice to pursue academic excellence over martial arts mastery reflected a fundamental shift in priorities that worried those who understood the cyclical nature of cosmic threats. The great Saiyaman persona he adopted served as a compromise between his desire for a normal life and his inherited responsibility to protect the innocent, though even this limited heroic activity felt increasingly removed from the universe-shaking battles of his youth. The World Martial Arts Tournament's return provided what seemed like harmless nostalgia, a chance for aging warriors to demonstrate skills that had been honed through conflicts spanning galaxies. Yet this celebration of martial arts would become the stage where ancient evils chose to announce their return to a world that had forgotten how quickly peace could transform into apocalyptic struggle. Spopovich and Yamu's brutal assault on Gohan during the tournament served as humanity's first glimpse of the supernatural forces that had been gathering strength while Earth's guardians focused on normal lives and everyday concerns. The energy absorption device they wielded represented technology that operated on principles completely unknown to human science, drawing power directly from living beings in ways that defied conventional understanding of energy transfer. Babidi's emergence from the shadows revealed how completely Earth's supposed security had been an illusion. The Dark Wizard's mastery of mind control, his ability to amplify the evil within his victims while enslaving their will to his own, demonstrated magical powers that none of Earth's defenders had been prepared to counter. His patient research into the planet's strongest fighters had provided him with detailed knowledge of their capabilities while they remained completely unaware of his existence. The spaceship hidden beneath the Earth's surface contained horrors that challenged every assumption about the limits of magical evil. Babidi's mobile fortress served as both laboratory and prison, a place where the boundaries between science and sorcery had been obliterated in service of a single universe-threatening goal. The resurrection of Majin Buu represented the culmination of efforts that had spanned multiple generations of dark wizards. Dabura's role as Hell's King brought with it powers that existed on entirely different levels from anything the Z fighters had previously encountered. His ability to turn living beings to stone with his saliva, his mastery of demonic magic, and most disturbing of all, his complete submission to Babidi's will, demonstrated how even beings of ultimate evil could become mere servants when faced with sufficiently powerful mind control techniques. Vegeta's fall to Majin possession revealed vulnerabilities that years of character development had failed to eliminate. The dark magic that transformed him amplified not just his power but every negative emotion he had struggled to overcome since his defeat on Namek. His willing acceptance of Babidi's influence in exchange for enhanced strength showed how completely his pride and rivalry with Goku continued to define his fundamental nature. The battle between Majin Vegeta and Goku that followed represented more than just a resumption of their eternal rivalry. Their conflict served as the catalyst that provided Babidi with the energy necessary to complete his most terrible work. Every punch thrown in anger, every energy blast fired in fury, contributed to the awakening of something that had been sealed away precisely because its power exceeded safe containment. Majin Buu's initial appearance defied every expectation about what ultimate evil should look like. His childlike demeanor, playful attitude, and seemingly innocent curiosity created cognitive dissonance that made him far more unsettling than traditional villains whose malevolence was obvious and straightforward. This pink-skinned creature, whose very presence radiated power that dwarfed Cell's perfect form, approached destruction with the casual indifference of a child pulling wings off insects. The Supreme Kai's arrival brought with it revelations about divine hierarchy that completely restructured the Z fighter's understanding of cosmic power structures. His knowledge of Majin Buu's true nature, combined with his obvious terror at the creature's awakening, provided the first clear indication that they were facing something that existed on entirely different levels from their previous opponents. The ancient history that the Supreme Kai revealed painted a picture of universal cycles spanning millions of years, where Majin Buu's periodic awakenings served as cosmic reset buttons that eliminated civilizations which had grown too powerful or too corrupt. The creature's role as an agent of universal balance, combined with his complete lack of moral constraints, created an enemy whose defeat might be necessary for survival, but whose purpose served functions beyond simple evil. Gohan's capture and apparent death struck his father with grief that transcended anything he had experienced during previous losses. The knowledge that his gentle son, who had saved the world through compassion rather than hatred, had fallen to a creature that viewed killing as entertainment, awakened depths of rage within Goku that even the Super Saiyan transformation had never fully accessed. The introduction of fusion as a technique capable of combining not just power but consciousness itself represented a fundamental evolution in martial arts philosophy. The fusion dance, with its precise timing and perfect synchronization requirements, embodied principles about unity and cooperation that went far beyond simple tactical considerations. The resulting being would possess not just the combined strength of its components but entirely new capabilities that emerged from the harmony between previously separate souls. Goten and Trunks' training in this ultimate technique revealed how the next generation approached challenges with perspectives shaped by growing up in relative peace rather than constant conflict. Their playful attitudes toward power that could reshape reality demonstrated both the innocence that their father's sacrifices had preserved and the potential dangers of treating cosmic forces as toys for entertainment. The failed fusion attempts that preceded their eventual success provided crucial lessons about the relationship between technical proficiency and spiritual harmony. The fat and skinny versions of Gotenks that resulted from improper timing served as reminders that ultimate techniques required not just physical coordination, but mental and emotional synchronization that could not be rushed or forced. Piccolo's role as teacher and guardian during this crisis reflected how completely his character had evolved from his origins as Earth's greatest threat. His patient instruction of the boys, combined with his strategic planning and emotional support, demonstrated wisdom that had been earned through decades of growth and self-reflection. His willingness to sacrifice himself to buy time for their training showed how thoroughly he had embraced his role as protector rather than conqueror. The Lookout's transformation into humanity's final refuge highlighted how completely the Earth had been overwhelmed by threats that exceeded conventional military response. The gathering of survivors in this sacred space, protected only by barriers maintained through divine power and desperate hope, created a microcosm of civilization clinging to existence while cosmic forces battled for universal supremacy. As Majin Buu continued his rampage across the planet's surface, systematically eliminating every trace of human civilization with the casual efficiency of someone cleaning their house, the remaining defenders found themselves confronting the possibility that this time, their strength and wisdom might prove insufficient to preserve the world they had sworn to protect. The moment when Majin Buu underwent his final transformation marked not just another increase in power, but the revelation of evil so pure and concentrated that it challenged the fundamental structure of reality itself. Kid Buu emerged from his previous forms like a malignant tumor being excised from a diseased body, except in this case, the tumor possessed power that dwarfed galaxies and malevolence that made previous villains seem like misguided children. This pink creature, smaller and seemingly less impressive than his previous incarnations, radiated an aura of destruction that made even the Supreme Kai step back in instinctive terror. Where Fat Buu had possessed childlike innocence corrupted by immense power, and Super Buu had combined intelligence with malevolence, Kid Buu represented something far more terrifying: evil without purpose, destruction without goal, violence as an end in itself rather than a means to any comprehensible objective. The revelation of Majin Buu's true origins painted a picture of cosmic horror that redefined how the universe's inhabitants understood the relationship between creation and destruction. This creature had not been built or summoned or corrupted from something good. He simply existed, had always existed, as a fundamental force of entropy given consciousness and unlimited power. His very nature challenged concepts like morality, purpose, and meaning, because he predated the civilizations that had created such ideas. Goku's return to life through Old Kai's ultimate sacrifice represented more than just tactical reinforcement. The elderly Supreme Kai's willingness to give up his immortal existence so that Earth's greatest defender could return for one final battle demonstrated how completely the divine hierarchy understood the stakes they faced. This was not merely about saving one planet or even one galaxy, but about preserving the very concept of order in a universe where chaos had gained a voice and unlimited power. The revelation that multiple Supreme Kais had died during Buu's previous rampages provided context for the creature's universe-threatening nature, but went beyond simple power-level comparisons. These weren't random casualties in a cosmic war, but systematic elimination of the beings responsible for maintaining balance between creation and destruction throughout all of reality. Vegeta's resurrection and his immediate understanding that pride and rivalry had become meaningless in the face of universal annihilation marked perhaps the most complete character development in the entire saga. His acknowledgement of Goku's superiority, delivered without bitterness or reservation, demonstrated growth that had been building since his first defeat on Earth, but had taken decades to fully manifest. The fusion that created Vegeta represented the ultimate expression of what cooperation could achieve when former enemies chose to work together, despite their fundamental differences. This being combined not just Saiyan pride and earthly compassion, but tactical genius and pure-hearted determination in ways that created capabilities neither component could have achieved individually. Vegeta's battle with Super Buu revealed power that transcended every previous understanding of what mortal beings could accomplish. His casual domination of an opponent who had effortlessly destroyed the Earth demonstrated that fusion could create abilities that operated on entirely different principles from simple addition of individual strengths. The playful confidence with which he approached combat that determined universal survival showed how completely the merger had eliminated the fears and limitations that had constrained his separate components. The decision to deliberately allow absorption in order to rescue his friends and family from within Buu's body represented tactical thinking that went beyond conventional combat wisdom. This strategy required not just incredible power and confidence, but understanding of his opponent's psychology and physiology that could only come from someone who combined Vegeta's analytical nature with Goku's instinctive combat genius. The internal landscape of Majin Buu's body proved to be a realm where normal physics and logic held no meaning. The rescue of Piccolo, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks from this organic prison required navigation through spaces that existed according to magical rather than scientific principles, where the very concepts of distance and direction were subject to the whims of a creature whose nature defied rational understanding. The diffusion that occurred within Buu's body, caused by the unique magical environment rather than time limits, forced Goku and Vegeta to confront the creature's true nature without the enhanced capabilities that had made victory seem possible. Their discovery of Fat Buu's pod and their understanding of how different absorptions had affected the creature's personality provided crucial insight into why their enemy's behavior had seemed inconsistent throughout their encounters. The decision to remove Fat Buu from the internal network, despite knowing it would unleash Kid Buu's pure malevolence, represented perhaps the most morally complex choice in the entire saga. They chose certain catastrophe over manageable evil, gambling that pure destruction might be defeatable in ways that intelligent malevolence never could be. Kid Buu's immediate destruction of Earth upon his emergence demonstrated power and callousness that exceeded even their worst expectations. The casual ease with which he eliminated their home planet, along with every innocent life it contained, proved that this creature viewed entire worlds as nothing more than minor inconveniences to be eliminated whenever they interfered with his destructive impulses. The battle that ensued on the sacred world of the Kais pushed both Goku and Vegeta beyond every limit they had previously accepted, fighting an opponent whose power seemed unlimited while knowing that every person they had ever loved was already dead, created psychological pressure that would have shattered lesser warriors. Yet they continued fighting not for victory, which seemed impossible, but simply because stopping meant allowing universal destruction to proceed unopposed. Vegeta's first acknowledgement of Goku as the superior warrior, delivered during what seemed like their final moments, carried emotional weight that transcended their decades of rivalry. His confession that he had known the truth all along, but had been too proud to admit it, represented the completion of character growth that had begun with his first defeat and continued through every subsequent humiliation and revelation. The revelation that Earth's Dragon Balls could be used to restore their home planet, along with everyone who had died in recent conflicts, provided hope that seemed almost cruel given their desperate circumstances. The knowledge that salvation was theoretically possible, if only they could survive long enough to make the necessary wishes, added urgency to a battle where every moment of delay meant risking not just their own deaths but the permanent loss of everyone they had ever cared about. Dende's rapid gathering of the Dragon Balls on New Namek, coordinated through communications that spanned galactic distances, demonstrated how completely their struggle had become a universe-wide effort involving allies whose support transcended traditional concepts of loyalty or obligation. The young Namekian's understanding of what was at stake, combined with his determination to help despite the obvious dangers, showed how their example had inspired courage in beings across multiple worlds. The wish that restored Earth and revived everyone killed by Majin Buu created a moment of hope that was immediately overshadowed by the reality that their enemy remained undefeated and more dangerous than ever. Kid Buu's ability to sense their planet's restoration and instantly teleport there demonstrated strategic thinking that belied his apparent mindlessness, suggesting that pure evil could be more cunning than they had realized. The spirit bomb technique that followed represented more than just another powerful attack. Goku's plea for energy donations from every living being on the newly restored Earth created a test of whether ordinary people, given the choice, would contribute to their own salvation or remain passive observers in the face of universal threat. The initial reluctance of Earth's population to provide energy, followed by their eventual wholehearted support, after understanding what was truly at stake, served as validation of Master Roshi's teaching that most people were fundamentally good but required proper leadership and clear understanding to act on their better nature. Vegeta's public appeal to humanity, broadcast across the entire planet, marked his complete transformation from selfish prince to genuine protector. His willingness to humble himself before the very beings he had once viewed as worthless insects demonstrated character growth that recontextualized his entire journey from villain to hero. The final confrontation with Kid Buu pushing against the spirit bomb while Goku channeled the life energy of an entire planet represented the ultimate expression of every theme that had been building throughout their entire adventure. Individual strength enhanced by bonds with others, evil defeated not through superior power, but through superior purpose, and the triumph of creation over destruction through the choice of every living being to support life over entropy. As Kid Buu finally succumbed to the combined will of an entire world focused into a single technique of preservation rather than destruction, the universe itself seemed to exhale in relief that balance had been restored and the forces of pure chaos had once again been contained. The years following Majin Buu's defeat had settled into a rhythm of domestic tranquility that seemed almost surreal after decades of cosmic conflict. Goku's attempts at farming, while endearing to his family, proved as unsuccessful as anyone might have predicted for someone whose idea of crop cultivation involved using energy blasts to till the soil. Yet beneath this peaceful facade, forces beyond mortal comprehension were stirring in realms where the concepts of time and space held entirely different meanings. Beerus the Destroyer's awakening from his 39-year slumber represented the beginning of an age where the distinction between mortal and divine would blur beyond recognition. This purple-furred deity possessed power that made even Kid Buu seem like a minor inconvenience. Yet his motivations remained frustratingly mundane. His decision to seek out the Super Saiyan God was driven not by cosmic duty or universal balance, but by a prophetic dream about finding a worthy opponent after eons of boring invincibility. The revelation that gods of destruction existed at all fundamentally altered how Earth's defenders understood their place in the cosmic hierarchy. These beings were not evil in any traditional sense, but rather served as necessary forces for maintaining universal balance through the elimination of planets, civilizations, and even entire solar systems that had outlived their usefulness or become obstacles to cosmic development. Whis, Beerus's angelic attendant and martial arts instructor, introduced concepts of power and technique that transcended everything the Zai fighters had previously believed possible. His casual manipulation of time, his ability to travel between dimensions as easily as walking between rooms, and most remarkably, his training methods that focused on mental clarity and spiritual harmony rather than raw strength, represented an entirely different approach to martial arts development. The search for the Super Saiyan God led to discoveries about Saiyan history that challenged every assumption Vegeta had held about his royal heritage and racial superiority. The ritual that required 5 pure-hearted Saiyans to channel their power into a 6th revealed that legendary transformations were not achieved through individual effort alone, but through bonds that transcended personal ambition and connected warriors to something greater than themselves. Goku's temporary transformation into Super Saiyan God provided his first glimpse of divine power that operated on principles completely different from mortal strength. The serene confidence that came with this red-haired form, combined with abilities that seemed to manipulate reality itself rather than simply applying force, suggested that true godhood involved understanding rather than domination. The battle between Goku and Beerus redefined what was possible in single combat, while simultaneously demonstrating the vast gap that still existed between mortal achievement and divine authority. Their conflict generated shockwaves that threatened to tear apart the entire universe, yet Beerus maintained casual conversation throughout the encounter, as if discussing the weather rather than participating in reality-threatening combat. Frieza's resurrection through Sorbade's wish represented the return of evil that had learned from previous defeats and adapted to face opponents whose power had evolved far beyond his original capabilities. The former Galactic Emperor's 4 months of intensive training, the first serious effort he had ever made to improve his abilities, resulted in the Golden Frieza transformation that temporarily allowed him to match Super Saiyan Blue power levels. The revelation that Goku and Vegeta had learned to combine Super Saiyan transformations with Divine Ki created fighting forms that operated according to entirely different principles from their previous enhancements. Super Saiyan Blue represented not just increased power, but fundamental evolution in how they understood the relationship between mortal determination and cosmic forces. The universal tournament between Universe 6 and Universe 7 introduced the concept that multiple realities existed parallel to their own, each with their own versions of familiar worlds and completely unique inhabitants. The discovery that other universes contained their own Saiyans, their own versions of Earth, and their own legendary warriors suggested that their struggles and achievements were part of patterns that repeated across infinite variations of reality. Hit, the legendary assassin of Universe 6, presented techniques that challenged every conventional understanding of combat strategy and physics itself. His ability to stop time, even for fractions of seconds, created advantages that seemed impossible to counter through traditional methods. His professional approach to elimination, combined with personal honor that prevented him from accepting contracts against worthy opponents, created an enemy who was both utterly dangerous and strangely admirable. The copy Vegeta incident revealed threats that could emerge from seemingly harmless sources when cosmic forces intersected with advanced technology. The Commerson's ability to perfectly duplicate not just appearance and abilities but memories and personality created philosophical questions about identity and consciousness that went beyond simple combat considerations. Future Trunks' return brought with it revelations about timeline manipulation that exceeded even their previous experiences with temporal paradox. His desperate plea for help against an enemy that had systematically eliminated every deity in his reality painted a picture of existential threat that challenged the very foundations of divine authority and universal order. Goku Black's true identity as Zamasu, a supreme Kai who had stolen Goku's body through the Super Dragon Balls, represented corruption of divine authority that went beyond simple evil into philosophical territory about the nature of justice and the responsibilities that came with ultimate power. His zero mortal plan, aimed at eliminating all non-divine life throughout every timeline and reality, created stakes that encompassed not just their universe but the very concept of mortal existence itself. The revelation that Super Dragon Balls existed on scales that dwarfed planetary bodies, scattered across multiple universes, and capable of granting wishes that exceeded even the limitations of universal laws, introduced power sources that operated on cosmic rather than planetary levels. These ultimate wish-granting artifacts could alter fundamental aspects of reality itself, including the creation and destruction of entire universes. Zamasu's fusion with his alternate timeline self-created an opponent whose very existence violated natural laws about what individual beings should be capable of achieving. This merged deity possessed not just incredible power, but philosophical certainty about his mission that made negotiation or redemption impossible. His absolute conviction that mortal life was a universal cancer that required elimination created conflicts that could only be resolved through complete victory by one side or the other. Trunks' final spirit sword attack, enhanced by the hopes and prayers of every survivor in his timeline, represented the ultimate expression of mortal determination, refusing to surrender even when faced with divine authority backed by unlimited power. The technique that finally eliminated merged Zamasu demonstrated that courage and hope could overcome even corrupted godhood when channeled through someone whose heart remained pure, despite witnessing the destruction of everything he had tried to protect. Zeno's casual erasure of future Trunks' entire timeline, performed as a cleaning measure to eliminate the corruption that Zamasu had spread throughout that reality, provided sobering perspective on the true cosmic hierarchy. The Omni-King's childlike demeanor masked authority that extended to the creation and destruction of entire multiverses, making even gods of destruction seem like minor functionaries in comparison. The friendship that developed between Goku and Zeno represented perhaps the most unlikely relationship in the entire saga. The innocent enthusiasm that allowed Earth's greatest warrior to treat the ultimate cosmic authority as a potential sparring partner demonstrated how his pure heart could transcend even the most fundamental power differences. The announcement of the Tournament of Power, with stakes that involved the erasure of losing universes, elevated conflict to levels that made their previous battles seem like local disputes. The revelation that their actions had inadvertently triggered this multiverse-spanning competition added psychological pressure that went beyond personal survival to encompass responsibility for the continued existence of billions of innocent beings. As teams from 8 different universes began preparing for combat that would determine which realities deserved to continue existing, the concept of strength evolved beyond individual capability to encompass the ability to preserve entire civilizations through skill, strategy, and determination. The approaching tournament represented not just the ultimate test of martial arts mastery, but the final examination of whether mortal beings possessed the wisdom and strength necessary to justify their continued existence in a multiverse where cosmic authorities had grown tired of inferior performance. The Tournament of Power arena materialized in the world of Void as a testament to cosmic engineering that defied every natural law the multiverse had previously recognized. This massive platform, suspended in nothingness, and constructed from materials that could withstand the combined assault of 80 warriors whose individual power levels exceeded planetary destruction capabilities, represented the ultimate stage where the fate of 8 entire universes would be decided through martial arts competition. The selection process for Universe 7's team revealed how completely their understanding of strength had evolved since the days when power levels could be measured through simple numerical calculations. Master Roshi's inclusion demonstrated that experience and tactical wisdom could compensate for raw strength differences that seemed insurmountable. His centuries of martial arts knowledge, combined with techniques like the Mafuba that could seal opponents regardless of their power levels, proved that the tournament would reward strategy and adaptability rather than simple dominance. Android 17's recruitment brought with it revelations about how the artificial beings had spent their years of peace. His work as a park ranger, protecting wildlife from poachers and environmental destruction, showed how beings created for conquest could choose to become guardians when given the freedom to determine their own purposes. His enhanced power levels, achieved through constant training motivated by genuine love of combat rather than hatred or revenge, demonstrated growth that exceeded even optimistic projections. Android 18's participation alongside her husband Krillin created dynamics that went beyond simple marital support. Their coordinated fighting techniques, developed through years of sparring and mutual understanding, represented the kind of perfect synchronization that could only emerge from genuine emotional bonds rather than tactical planning. The revelation of Ultra Instinct during Goku's battle with Jiren marked the emergence of a technique so advanced that even angels viewed its mastery as the pinnacle of martial arts achievement. This transformation went beyond conscious thought and deliberate strategy to achieve a state where the body could respond to threats faster than the mind could process them. The silver hair and autonomous movement represented not just enhanced reflexes, but fundamental evolution in the relationship between consciousness and physical capability. Jiren's overwhelming power served as a reminder that individual strength could still trump teamwork and strategy, when the gap between opponents became too vast to bridge through clever tactics. The Pride Troopers' meditation-based training, focused on achieving strength through mental discipline rather than emotional motivation, created a warrior whose capabilities seemed to operate on entirely different principles from Saiyan transformation methods. The philosophical conflict between Jiren's solitary pursuit of absolute strength and Universe 7's emphasis on bonds and cooperation became the underlying theme that determined not just individual battles but the tournament's ultimate outcome. His belief that power could eliminate all suffering and uncertainty was tested against their conviction that shared struggle and mutual support created capabilities that individual achievement could never match. Vegeta's elimination while protecting others demonstrated character growth that completely inverted his original introduction as a warrior who viewed compassion as weakness. His final attack against Toppo, motivated not by pride or rivalry, but by determination to preserve his family and friends, showed how thoroughly his understanding of strength had evolved from selfish dominance to protective sacrifice. The revelation that Universe 6's Saiyans, particularly Cabba and Caulifla, could achieve Super Saiyan transformations through different emotional triggers, challenged traditional understanding of how legendary power was accessed. Their ability to transform through excitement and focus rather than rage suggested that Saiyan potential was more flexible and varied than anyone had previously realized. Kefla's fusion represented power that temporarily exceeded even Goku's enhanced capabilities, demonstrating that Universe 6's approach to martial arts development had produced warriors whose potential matched or exceeded their Universe 7 counterparts. Her defeat through Ultra Instinct served as proof that technique and mental clarity could overcome even overwhelming raw power when properly applied. The tournament's time limit added pressure that transformed every moment into crucial decision points, where strategic thinking became as important as fighting ability. Participants had to balance aggressive tactics that could eliminate opponents against conservative approaches that ensured their own survival, creating psychological complexity that extended far beyond simple combat considerations. Universe 2's power of love techniques initially seemed like philosophical concepts that had no place in serious combat, but their effectiveness against opponents who relied purely on strength and technique demonstrated that emotional conviction could generate real tactical advantages. The magical girl transformations and heart-based attacks proved that sincerity and genuine belief could manifest as measurable combat capabilities. The elimination of multiple universes as the tournament progressed served as constant reminders of what failure meant for billions of innocent beings who had no knowledge of the competition that determined their continued existence. Each warrior who fell from the arena took with them not just personal defeat, but the hopes and dreams of entire civilizations whose only crime was belonging to universes with insufficient fighters. Android 17's unexpected emergence as the tournament's final victor represented validation of selfless heroism over personal ambition. His wish to restore all eliminated universes rather than claiming some personal reward demonstrated how artificial beings created for destruction could choose to become forces for universal preservation and healing. The revelation that Zeno had planned to restore the erased universes, if the winner made a selfless wish, provided context that reframed the entire tournament from cruel elimination to cosmic test of worthiness. The Omni King's childlike exterior had concealed wisdom about mortal nature that extended far beyond simple power assessment to encompass evaluation of moral character and spiritual growth. Broly's canonical introduction through the movie that followed brought with it revelations about Saiyan history that even Vegeta's royal education had not included. His incredible power, achieved through traumatic exile and survival training on a hostile planet, represented what Saiyan potential could become when pushed beyond every civilized limitation. The battle between Broly, Goku, and Vegeta redefined what was possible in individual combat, while simultaneously showing how past conflicts had prepared them for threats that exceeded every previous challenge. Gogeta's fusion represented the ultimate expression of their evolved relationship, combining not just their individual strengths, but their shared understanding of protection over conquest. The Moro arc that followed introduced magical threats that challenged physical strength through energy absorption and reality manipulation techniques that operated according to entirely different rules from conventional combat. This ancient wizard's ability to drain life force from entire planets demonstrated that the universe still contained horrors from prehistoric eras when magic and science had not yet been distinguished from each other. The revelation that Moro had escaped from galactic prison after millions of years of containment provided context about cosmic law enforcement and the challenges of containing threats that exceeded conventional punishment methods. His systematic consumption of planets and civilizations represented a return to primordial chaos that predated modern concepts of justice and rehabilitation. Ultra Instinct's complete mastery during the final battles against Moro showed how Goku's martial arts journey had evolved from simple strength building to achieving harmony between conscious intention and unconscious response. The technique that angels used naturally had become accessible to mortal beings through dedication that transcended normal training methods. As these cosmic-level threats continued to emerge, and the boundaries between mortal and divine capabilities continued to blur, Earth's defenders found themselves serving not just as protectors of their home planet, but as representatives of mortal potential in a universe where gods themselves had begun to recognize that individual growth could transcend the limitations they had previously assumed were absolute and unchangeable. The gentle breeze that carries the scent of mountain flowers across the peaceful valleys of Earth tells stories of transformation that span not just decades, but the very evolution of what it means to be strong in a universe where individual growth has proven capable of challenging cosmic order itself. In the quiet moments between training sessions, when the sounds of civilization blend harmoniously with the whispers of ancient forests, there exists a serenity that was earned through struggles that redefined the relationship between mortals and gods. Goku's continued training in the mountains where his journey began reflects the cyclical nature of growth that never truly ends but rather spirals ever upward, toward heights that remain perpetually beyond complete mastery. The same paths where he once chased dinosaurs and learned basic martial arts techniques from his beloved grandfather now witness meditation sessions where he explores the boundaries between conscious technique and unconscious perfection. The dojos scattered across Earth have become temples, where the next generation learns not just fighting techniques but the philosophical principles that transform mere combat ability into genuine protection of the innocent. Young students practice kata that were developed through battles against beings whose individual power could reshape galaxies. Yet the emphasis remains on discipline, compassion, and the understanding that true strength serves others rather than the self. Gohan's academic career continues to flourish, as he applies the same dedication that once made him the youngest Super Saiyan to research that pushes the boundaries of human knowledge. His scholarly work on theoretical physics and universal constants carries implications that extend far beyond earthly applications, suggesting that mortal understanding can contribute to cosmic wisdom in ways that pure power never could. The family dynamics that have emerged in this era of peace demonstrate how bonds forged through shared struggle create foundations that remain unshakable, even as individual members grow and change. Chi-Chi's fierce protection of domestic tranquility provides the emotional stability that allows warriors to maintain their humanity, despite having witnessed horrors that would shatter ordinary minds. Vegeta's evolution into a devoted father and husband represents perhaps the most complete character development in their entire saga. His training methods now emphasize patience and precision over raw aggression, while his interactions with Bulma and their children show how pride can be transformed from destructive arrogance into protective devotion that serves as strength rather than weakness. The technological marvels that Bulma continues to develop push the boundaries between science and magic in ways that suggest human ingenuity can adapt to any challenge the universe might present. Her capsule technology, gravity chambers, and time machines represent innovations that rival the achievements of civilizations that have existed for millions of years. Piccolo's role as teacher and guardian has expanded beyond simple martial arts instruction to encompass wisdom about the balance between power and responsibility. His meditation sessions beneath waterfalls and ancient trees connect him to both his Namekian heritage and his adopted Earth home, creating a synthesis of alien wisdom and terrestrial experience that guides the next generation's development. The younger generation of fighters approaches their training with perspective shaped by growing up in an era where cosmic threats are known possibilities, rather than shocking revelations. Gorton and Trunks treat transformations that once required lifetime dedication as natural extensions of their development, yet they also understand the responsibilities that come with such abilities. Master Roshi's continued presence serves as a living link to martial arts traditions that predate alien invasions and cosmic tournaments. His wisdom about the fundamentals of technique and the importance of mental discipline provides grounding for students whose power levels exceed anything he could have imagined during his own youth. The Dragon Balls rest scattered across the globe once again, their magic serving as both safety net and reminder that some powers transcend individual achievement. Shenron's ancient wisdom grows with each summoning, as the eternal dragon gains understanding of mortal nature through countless wishes that reveal the deepest desires and greatest fears of those brave enough to seek his aid. The cosmic perspective that Earth's defenders now possess allows them to appreciate the beauty of simple moments in ways that their younger selves never could. Watching sunrise paint the sky in colors that rival the auras of divine transformations, they understand that peace is not the absence of conflict, but rather the presence of harmony between opposing forces. The stories told around evening fires speak of adventures that span multiple universes and encounters with beings whose power could reshape reality itself. Yet these tales always return to themes of friendship, sacrifice, and the choice to protect rather than conquer. Each generation learns that strength without wisdom leads to destruction, while wisdom without strength cannot protect those who depend on it. The training that continues in hidden valleys and mountain peaks serves purposes that extend beyond preparation for future threats. These daily disciplines maintain the connections between body, mind, and spirit that allow mortal beings to channel forces that gods once believed were beyond mortal comprehension. UFOs occasionally appear in Earth's skies as visitors from distant galaxies come to observe the planet that produced warriors capable of standing alongside angels and challenging destroyers. Yet these cosmic tourists find not a world obsessed with power, but rather a civilization that has learned to balance strength with compassion, growth with contentment, and individual achievement with collective well-being. The martial arts tournaments that continue to be held serve as celebrations of human potential, rather than mere competitions for dominance. Participants understand that victory means demonstrating not just superior technique, but also the character that makes such abilities worthy of respect. As night falls across the peaceful world that was saved through the combined efforts of beings who learned to transcend their individual limitations, the stars themselves seem to shine more brightly in recognition of mortal courage that proved capable of protecting not just one planet, but entire universes, from forces that sought to eliminate the very concept of hope. The gentle rhythm of breathing during meditation sessions carries with it the wisdom that true power flows not from anger or desperation, but from the calm certainty that comes from understanding one's place in the cosmic order. These moments of stillness connect each practitioner to the life energy that flows through all living things, creating bonds that span galaxies and transcend the boundaries between mortal and divine. The laughter of children playing in gardens where mystical energy once crackled during universe-threatening battles serves as the ultimate testament to victories that were measured not in enemies defeated, but in innocence preserved. Their games echo with the joy that Master Gohan hoped to nurture in a strange child who fell from the stars so many years ago. The mountain streams continue their eternal journey toward the sea, carrying with them the reflected light of stars that have witnessed the transformation of a backwater planet into a beacon of hope for beings throughout the multiverse. In their gentle murmur can be heard the whispered promise that as long as hearts remain pure and bonds of friendship endure, no force in any universe can extinguish the light that mortal courage can kindle in even the darkest of cosmic nights. And in this peace, earned through struggle and maintained through wisdom, the greatest adventure of all continues, the never-ending journey of growth that connects each individual to something greater than themselves while honoring the unique gifts that make each soul irreplaceable in the vast tapestry of existence.